Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought I would officially do a Q&A. I've never done a Q&A on this platform before, so I figured it was about time to answer some of my most asked questions, just so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better. And I always find these videos fun for like the long-time viewers. I know that I enjoy watching these for the people that I enjoy following for like long periods of time. It's a nice way to get all those like popular questions answered all in one video. So that's what we're gonna do today. I asked questions on my Instagram and on my community tab here, so I have a few questions that I'm gonna answer for you guys. Before we get into those though, a little about me. My name is Allison. I'm 29 years old. I work part-time in healthcare and also part-time as a content creator. I have two cats who I love dearly, Melo and Leo. I'm married. I've been married for about a year now. We don't have kids yet. We don't have a house yet. Yeah, that's a little about my life, a little about me, and then I will get more into some of these nitty-gritty questions. So I kind of broke them up into the different categories. They were a lot related to my husband and like my relationship. So we'll do those first because I feel like those are the more juicy ones. So I got a lot of questions on how did we meet and how long we've been together. So me and my husband met in 2016. Which is crazy. We met in college when I was 20 and he was 21. He was a year older than me in college. We had mutual friends, so we just met at like a house party that we were going to. It was like a small gathering, and he knew some of the people that I was on the swim team with. Like, he was pretty good friends with them, so we were all at a party together, and he saw me kind of like across the room, he said, and I was talking to like one of our mutual friends, so then he came over and kind of like we started talking. He did like later ask her for my number. We started texting, we went on some dates, and yeah, here we are. It's kind of funny because we like met in August. I think we started officially dating in like October. And then he met my whole family in December. I asked if he wanted to come home with me for like Christmas, which is really funny, and that didn't scare him off. So I will say it's not like, oh, we've been together ever since. We did, have a couple breaks within there. I think, we've obviously talked about all of that in our past, but for us it wasn't important to take a break because that was like kind of my first real relationship when I was 20 and he's 21. Like, I feel like that's really young to feel like you have it all figured out. You change, they change, things change, and I mean, I'm glad it all worked out and that we found our way back to each other because I definitely think we're meant for each other. Every single time we were apart, I was like, this is awful, like I miss him so much. So it all worked out for us. Yeah, now we've been married for a year and hopefully many, many more. Someone did also ask how did he propose, which is funny because it's not anything crazy, but that's kind of how I wanted it. He really just did it like in our bedroom after work one day. We were going to a concert that night. This is when we lived outside of Boston, so we were going to a Post Malone concert at the Garden, and he was like, I wanted to bring it and like do it at the concert or like, outside, like if we went to get like a drink beforehand or something, but he's like, I was so nervous about losing the ring on the train or like figuring out how to carry it with me in like my pocket or whatever. And I was like, honestly, that's better because one, I probably would have noticed that you were like nervous. Two, I wouldn't have liked doing it in public at all. And then three, we got to like enjoy the night. He did it before we left, so then like we just had like the best night ever and really got to enjoy ourselves. Again, nothing crazy, literally just like the two of us hanging out. I think he just needed to do it because he was so nervous, which is really cute. But again, that's just who we are. I feel like it depends on who you are. He knew that that's like, I wouldn't be like upset about that because I don't like attention on myself. Then I did get quite a few questions about like, do we want kids? How many kids? When do we want kids? We do want kids. It's funny because I've never been one of those people that like knew for sure that I wanted kids. And like as it gets closer to when we want to have kids, it's like you really start to think about, I guess, the negatives of having kids. Like you really start to like outweigh the pros and cons. Having a kid changes your entire life. It changes your relationship. It changes your financial situation. It changes so many things. I'm very much like an independent person. I like doing things on my own time, obviously. But now that I am married and looking for like that next step in my life, I guess, like the feeling of wanting a kid has definitely increased a lot, and like I do feel like I was meant to be a mom. This is gonna get deep, but I think part of the reason I didn't want kids, at least back in the day, was at least somewhat to do with like my childhood. And not that my parents weren't great, like I do love my parents. I just think there was a lot of things that maybe they didn't do the best, and then I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for like a child and giving them childhood trauma and messing up their life. Like, I don't know, not that my parents really did that, but I definitely had some like childhood trauma, so I think that kind of plays a part in it sometimes. And I guess a little bit of like, I don't want to make the same mistakes that my parents made. Anyway, back to the actual question. We do want kids. Probably the end of next year is when we would start trying. Originally, I had thought maybe this year. That was actually in my like 2025 goals video that I made. But then we talked about it a little more, and we just both really want to be in a better financial spot. It's hard because I'm getting older, so then it's like, if we want kids, we might need to start trying now because one, it's been taking people a lot longer to get pregnant. We don't know if we have any issues getting pregnant, if we need to go through any kind of fertility treatments. So there's that aspect of it, but also like I don't want to rush into it if we're not ready. And one of our big things is that we just definitely want to be in a house when we have kids. Like, this apartment is great for the two of us, but it's not where we want to be when we have a kid, and that we don't want to move with like a newborn. I don't think that there has to be an order for us. That's just what we want. So that is the first step, which I do think is going to happen at the beginning of next year. So then that's why I feel like now our timeline kind of got pushed back a little bit, and then we'll start trying maybe at the end of next year. But that also gives me a little more time, a little more relief. Starting a family is kind of scary, you know, gives you more time to be us and live our life like married. And as far as how many kids, I don't know. I think we would at least have one. We've already kind of talked a little bit too about if we do have fertility issues. I'm not sure how much we would pursue going through any kind of fertility treatments, just because of the cost and like the strain that it puts on like would put on my body and then our relationship as well. So I don't know, but that's just kind of like our initial thoughts on it. Obviously some people really want to be a mom and like will go through anything to try to have a kid, and I don't know because I'm not there yet. That could be what we do, but that's just like our initial talks about it. At max, I only want 2. We're gonna see how the first pregnancy goes and birth and all of that, and then think about having a second kid, because I don't know if I'm gonna have a really hard pregnancy. I don't know if I'm gonna feel horrible, feel sick, if it's gonna be traumatic, if I'll have postpartum. Like, there's so many factors that you need to think of in these situations. So, you know, we at least want one if we're lucky enough to have one, and then we'll see what happens there, because we're both from families of like 2. So I would love to have 2 kids. Next question. Someone asked, do we sleep in separate rooms? And I have answered this on TikTok before. Yes, we do, and I'm not ashamed about it or anything. I think it helps us so much because we have such opposite schedules. I have to get up at 4:30 on the days that I work, so I go to bed at like 9, sometimes even earlier. But I'm like getting ready for bed by like 8:30. He, on the other hand, is a night owl. He will stay up until 1 in the morning. He needs to like fall asleep to like a video, which I cannot stand. I have to be like, it has to be silent and pitch black for me. And he snores. So if he were to wake me up, I would be really mad, I think. And like, I wouldn't get my sleep, and then I would be mad and I would have a bad day. And then also I would be waking him up at 4:30 when I get up. So it's like, it doesn't make much sense for us. Also, I think a lot of people just assume that because when I film, he's not here, but that's because he's not the one who wants to be filmed every day. Like, he's not the one who's the content creator. I am. It's just me being polite as well and not filming him when he's sleeping. But on the days that I work, yes, we do typically sleep separately. So that's just what works for us. I know a lot of people have opinions about that, but I don't know. I don't think it's that weird. We both get a good night's sleep because of it. I don't really care what other people have to say because I like my sleep. My last question in this category is, what's the best part about being married? And that, I don't know, that's a good question, but it's a hard question. Not much changes, I feel like, when you've been living with the person for like 2 or 3 years before. I just think it's nice to be like, it's the feeling of like, this person is like my person. We get to do everything together. You know, I always have someone to travel with. I always have someone to go out to dinner with. And he's just like my biggest supporter too. So it's just nice having like someone in your corner no matter what, and that you get to hang out with all the time. It's pretty cool. Moving on to a couple of work questions. If you don't know, I work as a radiation therapist, and essentially what that is, because like I don't typically go too much into what I do for work. Radiation therapy is a cancer treatment. A lot of people think when I say that I'm an x-ray tech, which I am not. Radiologic technologist is different than radiation therapist, but it's not as well known. On a daily basis, what I do is treat patients who have cancer, like all different kinds of cancer: breast cancer, prostate, lung, skin cancer, bone, literally anything. Like radiation treats a lot of different things, as well as chemo. Some people get both, some people only get one. So we treat about like, let's say 30 to 35 patients a day. It's a pretty quick treatment. It's this big machine that like rotates around you. So, you know, I go in, I set up the patient, make sure everything's aligned well. I do take x-rays and CAT scans and things like that. So I do part of like what an x-ray tech does. Then I actually like do the treatment as well. So it's really cool. It's definitely rewarding because I get to help people who have cancer, but it's exhausting. It's like mentally draining, it's physically draining. Unfortunately, sometimes very political, like any other hospital, like any job really, but a lot of times it's about the money. But anyway, why did I choose it? Basically, and I don't think I've talked about this too much on here, I went to school originally for nursing. I did 2 years of nursing back in like 2014. I didn't hate it. I liked learning about like the medical aspects of things, and I like science, and I like learning about the human body. So like that part was interesting, but then I did a clinical rotation and I didn't really love that. I do wish I'd stuck with nursing, I'm not gonna lie, because there's so many other aspects of nursing that you can go into, and I would love to have like done something different. The problem is you do have to do a lot of bedside nursing, at least in like clinical rotations and stuff. It wasn't for me. So I panicked and switched my major to business, which I know is like 180. And I ended up graduating with a business degree, but I wasn't happy with that. I feel like I just switched to business because it was the easiest one for me to switch to and not have to do that many more years of school. But that was like the worst decision I ever made. I'm not even gonna lie. I regret that so much because it affected me so much that I didn't even realize. I was like a totally different person during that year, and it was awful. But I ended up graduating with a business degree and was like, what am I doing? What do I want to do with this? I didn't do any, internships. I didn't do anything to like help me get a job in business. And like, what do you even do? So literally 2 weeks after I graduated, basically, I was applying to schools for radiation therapy. And basically all I really did when like deciding to choose this was research, and found this on Google. And then when I was applying to schools, one of them did make me do job shadowing, which is really awesome. Like, I feel like you should have to job shadow more when applying to schools because that was super helpful. And I got to job shadow at 2 places, and I was like, oh my god, like I could see myself doing like this, and like I was able to go back into like the medical field and still do the things that I liked, because that's what I liked about nursing, but also not have to do certain things that nurses do. That's how I got into it. The next question is, would you ever consider getting a job closer to home? Because if you don't know, I commute an hour to work, which is part of the main reason why I went part-time. And yes, I definitely would get a job closer to home. The only problem with radiation therapy, if now you're thinking about it, or if you're already thinking about it, is that the job market is not bad, it's just hard. Because not everywhere has radiation therapy, not everywhere has a cancer center, especially in more rural areas, I guess. Like, I'm not really in a rural area, but it's definitely less populated than like when I was living in Massachusetts. There was so many more options, and like everywhere, at least downtown, is like always looking for people. It's hard because once people find a place that they want to work, they usually stay there for a long time, which is kind of what seems like is the pattern here where I live, and I live in like northeast Pennsylvania. They are opening a new cancer center literally like 10 minutes away, and it's supposed to opening this summer. So that is a possibility. Like, I'm not against moving closer. Obviously, I would love to if the opportunity arises. The only problem is now I work part-time. I'd have to see like what they would offer me to see if it was worth it, if that makes sense. Like, I know you're thinking that's crazy, like I'd rather have the shorter commute, but if I could stay where I'm at and only work 3 days a week and make the same as like possibly working 5 days a week but be closer, I don't know what it would be a really hard decision for me. Really, really like those 2 days off. It's been so nice for me, and especially if I want to take content creation more seriously, which I do, it's been really, really helpful to have those extra days. So I don't know. I can't dwell on that too much right now. Like, I don't have another job offer or anything. Like, I can only do what I can do now with what I have. So anyway, the next question was, do you plan on using your coding certificate? That was another thing that I had started towards the end of last year. I decided to go get my medical coding certificate, which again, basically is like every procedure and diagnosis and whatever has a code associated with it for billing purposes. Essentially, what I would do if I was coding is like I could work from home and you just like review like doctor's notes or like doctor's billing and make sure that all the codes are correct or whatever. And I don't know if I'm actually going to go into that. I think at the time I was really just like, I was over it with working full time and didn't know if I was ever going to be able to go part-time where I'm at, and I was able to. So now I'm in the same boat as like what I just said. If I got a remote coding job, it probably wouldn't pay me as much as like how much I'm getting paid now for only working 3 days a week. It just doesn't seem like something I'm gonna probably pursue. I just think at the time like I needed another option just in case like I lost my mind. So TBD. And then the last one is, would you ever consider being a travel radiation therapist? And again, probably no, just because if we do want to start a family, that just wouldn't be ideal to be traveling. Maybe potentially like when I'm older, because you definitely make a little bit more money doing that, and then like you could take a larger chunk of time off, but probably not. If I had gone into this field when I was younger, like if I hadn't gone back to school for it, I could see myself maybe wanting to do that for a few years. Like if I had graduated and I was still only like 22 or 23, sure. I couldn't really see that happening unless I like had to. If for whatever reason I got fired or I don't know, a place closed down, like who knows, and I couldn't find another job, sure. Like if I really had to, I would. Honestly, probably look for a different job before I even decided to do travel. Next is finances. I have just like 2 finance questions. One was kind of like what jump-started your desire to learn about finances and like get financial freedom. And I don't know exactly kind of what clicked in my head, but I think it was more like when I officially got like my first big girl job and was making like real money. That's when I was like, I need to actually start getting this together. The student loans were kind of like my first catalyst for wanting to like pay off a debt, at least because it was like COVID, so they were still on like pause. I wasn't getting interest on them. They were just kind of sitting there, and I was like, well, I might as well use this time to pay them off as quickly as I can so that I'm not getting interest on them, and then in like 2 years when they start up again, I'm not like, ugh, I have student loans still, when I could have been paying them off this entire time. So that's kind of like, that was my main goal at the beginning, was get those paid off. I started out with like $19,000 in student debt, and then I moved on to like credit card debt because that had gotten pretty high. Like I was living in Boston, I didn't really have a job. I worked part-time at like a TJ Maxx, so things went on the credit card for a little bit. So then we moved on to that. We were planning the wedding. I needed to save. I do feel grateful that I was able to pay those off and my credit cards, and now a lot of my car loan pretty fast as well. And then the next question is, how do you and your husband split your finances? And that's a good question. We haven't combined our finances yet fully. We have like some joint accounts, which I think is kind of how we'll leave it for a while, just because that's what's working. I actually do pay a good amount of the bills though, just because of our financial situation. Like, I was making more than him. I don't have student loans and I don't have credit card debt where he does. So, you know, I took over some of the bills and things. So it's not split very evenly at the moment. Now that we are married, it doesn't matter. Like, if I can pay more to help him out, I'm obviously gonna do that. Like, I do pay the rent, the phone bill, internet. Like, I don't know, that's pretty much it. We don't have that many bills really, and he'll pay like the heat and electric. Obviously I pay my own like car payment and my car insurance. Like, I have bills. Those are my bills, my subscriptions. We share, like, we each have our own. We both pay for like certain subscriptions, but we obviously like, it like evens out. That's just how it works for us. I don't know. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. We'll need to like grow up. No, people need to get over it because it's not really that weird. And I feel like it shouldn't be frowned upon to like not combine your finances or combine, like, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Okay, the last section is just kind of like miscellaneous questions that I thought were fun. Someone asked if I've read ACOTAR, and I have not. I like to read, but I don't really like fantasy. I can't say that for sure. I don't think that I like fantasy. It just doesn't seem interesting to me. Like, it doesn't seem like something I would want to read. I don't want world building. I don't think I want that. I don't like when I can't pronounce the names. So I have not read ACOTAR or Fourth Wing, Onyx Storm. Like, I haven't read any of those. Someone asked how I read and walk on the treadmill at the same time. Honestly, I don't know. That walking pad that I have only goes like to 2.5 miles an hour, so it was easier with the Kindle because you just hold it. But at the gym, I actually have a page turner, so then I just put the Kindle on the treadmill, and then I just hold the page turner and it will like turn the page for me. So that's really nice and convenient and helps me just walk without like thinking, and I can actually like do two things at once. So I don't know, it just takes time. I feel like it's easier on the treadmill because you have like railings if you like feel like you're gonna fall. This walking pad, not so much, but it doesn't go very fast. So I think I posted this in like short form, but someone asked, was it your first time getting Botox? How did you like the results? It was not my first time. I've gotten it a few times. I used to get it way more consistently back when I lived in like near Boston, and then I stopped because of the price. The cost of it is like insane. I'll fixate on something and I will just not be able to like get it out of my head until I do something about it. And for me, it was this, like, I have this one line on my forehead that was like driving me nuts, and I am very expressive with my forehead. So I was like, I need to get this because I don't want to be able to move my forehead. I get it because other people were commenting like, you're so young, like, why do you need it? It's another taboo subject where people feel like certain types of way about like filler, Botox, whatever. I'm a big like, do whatever makes you happy. Like, if you want to change something and it's gonna make you feel better and more confident, do it. I typically only get it in my forehead and like your frown lines here. I have gotten master Botox before. I probably wouldn't get that again. I didn't notice much of a difference in like thinning of your face, which I know some people say that it does. I did it because I had like a lot of pain in my jaw, and I don't think it even helped with that either. I have gotten lip filler before. I did like the results of that. I just wouldn't do it again because I don't want it to be like too much, you know what I mean? And I'm happy with the way that they look right now, so like I would never continue doing it because I don't want it to look crazy. But I do like the results. This is as much as I can lift my eyebrows. And then when I frown, like there's a little movement there, but it's really just preventative. When someone my age gets it done, it's really just so that these lines don't get any deeper and thicker. The other area that really bothers me is my neck, but you can't do anything about those without surgery. So someone asked how tall I am and how do I maintain my weight. I think this was because I'm kind of doing that series on like leveling up and trying to do my 30-day challenge and lose weight. I'm 5'7". Maintaining my weight is hard, I would say. I've fluctuated a lot over the years. I feel like where I'm at right now is probably where I maintain usually the most. And it's really just about making healthy-ish choices. I feel like I have a good balance right now where I'm at. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat relatively healthy, but I also let myself eat junk food or go out to eat. I'm trying to get more exercise. I feel like that's kind of where I lack the most. Like, I feel like I could probably see more results if I were to like exercise more, but I don't really do anything special to like maintain this weight that I'm at. But obviously now I'm trying to move into a phase of like changing and losing weight, so I'm changing those things and tracking my calories a little bit more, eating a little bit less, and trying to exercise more. Another question was, what do I do with all my books after I'm done reading them? Honestly, I just put them downstairs on like our shelf. I don't know what I want to do with them. I think this comment kind of said like, do you sell them or do you donate them? I probably will. I have like a few obviously that I like really liked, and like I want to keep those ones. But eventually, because now it is getting a little full, I'm running out of spots for like my read books, I most likely will try to get rid of them or donate them. Also, when we get a house, I kind of want like a little library because I love when people have bookshelves. I think we're at a point here in this apartment where I don't want to invest in anything that I don't know what it's gonna look like in the house that we get. So I've been like holding off on that. But for now, the books just kind of live downstairs, like on our little shelf or like under the TV. But I should go through the ones that like I don't necessarily want to keep anymore. And then the last question that I'm going to answer, because I've been talking for like an hour now, is do you have any trips planned for this year? We have one that's definitely happening. Nothing's booked yet, which stresses me out. We're going to Charleston in June. It was gonna be May, but we pushed it to June because some of my husband's friends are gonna go. So now it's gonna be even more fun because we're all going together. Done a lot of trips lately, just the two of us, which is great, but I feel like we're in that time in our lives again where we need to enjoy not having kids and not having responsibilities. Go on these trips with our friends who also don't have kids, and one of their other friends lives in Charleston, so we're all kind of going and like hanging out, so I think it's gonna be really fun. We're actually gonna drive. It's like 11 hours, I think, but we're gonna split it up the first day into 2 days because we wanted to drive so that we could take our golf clubs. Other than that, I kind of want to do something for my birthday in November, but I don't know exactly what I want to do because I have two things in mind and they're pretty opposite. One would be I really do want to go to Vegas. Like, it wouldn't be long. We would go maybe like 3 or 4 nights, or I want to go to Toronto, which is another place that we could just drive to. But I do have points for flights, so that's why I was like, we could go to Vegas. It is my 30th birthday, by the way. So I was like, I kind of want to do something like fun. We'll see what happens. I definitely think we'll do one of those two things. I just don't know which one I would rather do. But other than that, we don't really have anything else planned. Typically, I definitely like going on vacations. It's just a lot, and like the last couple years we've done like bigger trips. We need to do some more like smaller trips that are like closer. So the only trips that we have planned, well, not even trips that are on the mind, I guess. I think it's also good because we're trying to save for a house. Anyway, those are all the questions that I had. I'm sorry that I yapped for so long, but thanks for sitting here and listening to me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely like doing these Q&As because I like to talk, obviously. Thanks for listening, and I will see you guys soon in my next video.